I'm still in shock, I can't understand. I am so disappointed in man.
Some people in the world today don't realize that worries don't pay. Let the people in the world today don't realize that worries don't pay. Resting the worries upon your shoulder, only bringing you older and older. Tell them to never ever worry. Don't mind how things looking hard. I said to tell them never ever worry. Don't mind how you're suffering bad. Never ever worry. What I'm saying is true. Always consider somebody suffering more than you.
XM, we're taking travel and tourism to new heights. Here we boast spacious check-in areas, 10 passport control points, comfortable departure lounges, and an exciting new airport mall. Finally, there's an airport in the Caribbean that takes your travel plans as seriously as you do. Princess Juliana International Airport. The experience will move you.
And they start to jump around, and they start to tumble down, and they fall down.
Welcome to another edition of The Great Debate. Of course, it's another Sunday. I'd like to say good evening to you. Hope you are enjoying, or hope you enjoyed your Sunday so far. Today, we continue our great debates. Each and every week, the late night features different political parties. Of course, as usual, let me mention the two political parties. Well, the three political parties that did not show up today, and that is the Democratic Party, one, the Now Party, two, and also the National Alliance, for the third week in a row, did not show up as we discuss some very important issues. Of course, the parties that I think have interest in discussing important topics on a weekly basis so that you can make a good decision this upcoming elections do show up, and I do appreciate them for that. The two political parties I have here representing on the Great Debate is first, is Brenda Brooks representing the URSM. Good day to you.
Good day, Andrew. Thank you for having us here.
Of course. And Mr. Lyndon Lewis, an old classmate and now politician. Aha.
Good afternoon.
How the rules have changed. How are we doing, sir? It's good evening.
It's good evening.
Yes. Now, the topic today is justice. And of course, it's a burning issue right now, specifically the Justice Ministry. So my first question, guys, is, of course, what we doing with justice? I mean, if you have to look at the overall organization, do we have to revamp it, or Are our policies outdated? Where do we begin? Let me start off with Ms. Brooks.
Well, first of all, for those who don't know who I am, my name is Brenda Brooks. I'm an attorney at law by profession, and I'm the president of the URSM, the newly launched party that was launched on 10-10-10, 10-10-21, let me correct myself. Just for the viewers to understand, I have no intention of participating in the upcoming election for the mere fact that I'm an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And my passion is representing my clients, and I think that that is my way that I serve this country, by representing clients.
Okay.
So just really for the record, justice issues, it's a very broad topic. We
is.
can sit days,
hours,
weeks,
yeah.
months, maybe discussing it. But I think, honestly, if I look at government apparatus on a whole, Andrew, I would say that it's not only the main problem we have in St. Martin is having qualified persons fill the positions within government. And it starts, for instance, at the top, the legislative body, straight down to the ministries and
To the civil service after.
to the civil service apparatus. So unless we are prepared to change the way we do things in St. Martin by appointing any and anybody to hold the key functions, or to put any and anybody in the different cabinets, we will keep repeating ourselves having issues, and that's not only within justice.
But we can't have like a massive layoff session going on.
Of
Ms.
course
Brooks.
not, but most of the key functions comes in with the ministries, with the cabinets.
Okay.
Okay, so that is problem number one. And I think what we did within our party to try to change the dynamics of politics and the candidates, we started by looking at our articles of incorporation and saying, listen, based on your articles, you have a nomination committee and they have a role. The role is screen the candidates. Don't wait for after election and then you have to
See
scramble
what
to
the
see who can
specials is
pass
for,
a
yeah.
screening for the ministerial position.
Yeah.
But start screening the candidates before, have them present their CVs and say, okay, we have certain profiles that we are looking for as political candidates, and then you start the screening on the front end. So at the back end, when somebody is elected, you can say, okay, we have qualified persons to start pushing them in the different cabinets, for instance. And that, for me, is one of the biggest issues, not only in justice, but in all of the ministries, the entire cabinet apparatus of government. Then again, it trickles down. Legislation. Okay? Justice, we have a lot of cases, as you guys know, immigration cases against justice or denials of certificate of good conduct. We litigate a lot. Or from all the ministries that we have, justice has the most cases. That's a given. We can sit and talk. There are statistics. The Joint Court of Appeal has published those statistics. And a lot of those cases, in my opinion, can be avoided if you have proper legislation and you have the ministries adhere to the legislation.
To the legislation, yeah.
Many of the laws that we have in St. Martin are either outdated, requires amendments, but what we've seen, especially in the justice ministry, that you have a minister issuing legislation that contravenes the highest legislation.
Policy or legislation? Policy, more policy.
Policies that contravenes the highest legislation, the highest laws, international laws.
And that's where the court come in.
And that's where the court cases come in. So if I look at justice, I'm thinking like, guys, who do you have as your policy advisors? Are you selecting your persons properly to avoid all of this litigation? Because at the end of the day, I've always said it. I've said it on many platforms before. Litigating is costing me a lot of money. I am a tax-paying citizen, and if I have to pay court fees to my clients or penalties, it hurts me, and I think that those are where the
improvements.
yes, and although justice is quite big, we underestimate the ministry. It's not only police, coast guard, immigration, but you also have the court of guardianship. I think ES is
the prosecutor, also,
prosecutor. You have MOT, the FIU.
Yeah.
It's a rather large ministry that you have different aspects and different organizations that fall under that branch. And if you're going to continue operating on a small scale where you have to monitor your entire ministry and
because
not
when you focus on something, something else could
yes,
just
and
pop up.
and then of course everything trickles down to your staff. Okay,
Yeah.
if you don't take care of your key staff,
Then where are we going?
where are we going? Because at some point, Branson always say, treat your employees good, your business is going to grow. And
All right, Mr. Lewis.
For those who don't know me, of course, I'm Lyndon Lewis. I will be vying for a seat in Parliament in the next election. I've been employed with the Justice Ministry for nearly 16 years. Previously, legal advisors to 2 ministers of public health. That's Mr. Richard Panafleck, Omar Otley, also been the interim chief of staff of those both, for the both ministers. And currently the legal advisor to the newly minister appointed of TIAT. Your question
Justice, yes.
on justice today, I will have to piggyback off of the information from Ms. Brooks. It starts with the top, okay? There are political functions such as minister, and if you know you're going to be appointed as minister number 1, you should have some type of experience or knowledge of the ministry that you're going to serve. I will say the word serve because I always say the executive branch is the highest civil servants to this country. In the matter of fact, like we just mentioned how broad the Justice Ministry is, we have about 10 different diensten, different services that we have that execute. We also mentioned the Voogdijraad, the Court of Guardian, the SJIB as well. They are not officially part of the Justice Ministry because of a lot of policies that are not updated, because we are basically following laws and policies from the Netherlands Antilles.
Correct.
And as they say, when you come over, before they adopt, St. Martin adopts them, we have to use them until it is changed.
Yeah.
And we also have one afdeling or department, which is afdeling Justitiële Zaken. That's the judicial affairs. So all the rest of them are diensten, and we have...
Oh, we have judicial affairs?
Yes, we do have the judicial affairs.
Okay.
Okay. So the Justice Ministry is one of the biggest ministries within the government apparatus, where we have about 530 employees. And I can tell you about 90% of those employees are disgruntled. And why are they disgruntled? Because of our outdated policies. We have, yes, a lot of ministers of justice we have had in the past 12 to 13 years, yes, but many of them could not have completed where they started because of the falling of government. But what I can say is that we need to adapt, amend, and execute.
Okay.
The country needed to adapt. It is very embarrassing that we are nearly 13 years within a country and we have not even adopted a simple function book or the Rex Posities, which has the plichten and the rights and obligations of the employees. The first people that needs to be at ease is the justice workers, because they are basically the ambassadors of the country. Okay, so the laws are outdated. For example, simple traffic laws from since 1954, 51. That is not even adapted to country St. Martin. So these are the important things. You can serve the country on an international level, but we also need to serve the country on a social economic level, seeing the fact that the constituents that you go out there every election that you're looking for to vote for you are the ones not being served.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to, because you have, for example, the situation with the police officers is one that is a big issue right now, based on the function book, the calculations. The union's representative recently held a press conference, and they gave the minister until the 15th of March to answer some questions that they sent to them. Then afterwards, the minister's response was basically, no, come in and let's talk. And the union's message is pretty clear, which is stop talking. We need action. And I'm sure that the action is what the minister is saying that would be haphazard, or it would be irresponsible because it has to be done correctly. Do you agree with that?
Andrew, I think that if I have followed all of those cases that have played out in court, as a minister, I would not have been sitting trying to get calculations to pay people that the court already imposed penalties on getting their decrees done. So we can sit and play the whole thing calculation. We have a history of finding monies when we need to find it. And I'll give you a perfect example, and I don't want to ruffle feathers, right?
Yeah.
But I'll give you an example. When Ahab and Zebek had a civil dispute,
correct,
didn't they go to SZV and had SZV pay off settlement for them? And then you ask yourself, but wait, based on the ordinance from SZV, are they authorized even to take our funds, pension funds and sickness, the sick pay funds, and use it to help the harbor? Why can't you now go to the same SZV who you ran to buy a government building and rent it back to you? Why can't you then go to SZV and say, hey guys, we need money? There's a lot of government-owned companies that you can run to partner with to get these people paid.
And announces profits every year that they have in reserve.
You understand? Yeah. So this is hard to swallow, to have these employees put, and I mean justice, and put their lives at stake.
Literally, yeah.
Every day to go into work, half don't have their decrees, their position has not been duly established, and their pay. Because while we are sitting, every year the prices are rising, but you expect them to continue pay their rent, eat food, feed their families, but then come back, walk and smile like nothing happened.
And be on time.
And then you say, oh yeah, but I want to do it the legal way. Right now there's no legal way other than to pay the people them. Just start to pay even with civilian, if we have a civil lawsuit and you know that something, the calculation have to come, whatever, goodwill. Show good faith that, hey, you know what, we are concerned about you, because what we're going to do, hire people to do calculations and you don't have money to pay them, it baffles me. I'm very sorry, but I cannot share the position, and especially the court has systematically stated that this must be done. And yes, they had a time with Governor Holiday that they played the game that, oh, you know what, I'm not signing the decrees, and the court keep adding more to the judgments to explain them that this is a court order.
And this has to be done.
And I'm shocked to know that we could allow court penalties to continue to augment and these cases.
Because ultimately it has to be paid.
Because my goal would have been to stop the penalty, start paying the people them, and say, listen, we're going to execute, we're going to do all the formalities, but just start to pay.
Yeah.
So because you're burdening the landscads again, the coffers, by incurring penalties. So it doesn't make sense to me.
Do we need a different calculator, Mr. Lewis?
Is not a different calculator. Again, like Ms. Brooks said, we have enough, and you're talking to someone who takes the initiative and have represented basically the most civil servant cases in this country. Okay, and have won basically 90% of those cases as well. We have a trias politicas as it is there. You have the legislative body, the executive body, and you also have the judicial body. And basically what I'm seeing here, that the executive body who's supposed to execute on the country's behalf is disrespecting, moreover, the judicial body that basically has the last say.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's nothing about policy when a judgment is in place.
Yeah. Okay.
It's called jurisprudence. So across the board, one verdict, okay, can tackle the situation for many employees.
Correct.
So it is very sad that the officers, myself, have to take government to court, get a verdict, and the minister is disrespecting that verdict.
Yeah.
So when I say that you need competent officials, because if a minister does not study the apparatus that they are working for executing,
Yeah.
they have to take third-hand information from someone else.
Yeah.
And like Ms. Brooks said, if you don't have the competent individuals in your cabinet, how would you ever get the work done? Where are we going to allocate these monies from? How are we going to do it? You have a parliament. For example, you know, Mr. Bryson is adamant with the budget amendments. Sit with him.
Yeah.
Sit with him. He's also your political partner.
Yeah.
Where can we make cuts or bring in monies in order to
find
pay
To fund this.
Yeah.
to pay the foundation? I consider the Justice Ministry as the foundation of your country.
Yeah. Yeah.
So these things can be dealt with in a fast manner,
Yeah.
because okay, now we can talk a lot.
Yeah.
But this ministry right now, or this government, has nearly 4 years in office.
Yeah.
So now we
And they
cannot
don't
have
stop it.
any more excuses as to why
Right.
this is not rounded off as yet. This should have been the main and first priority of our country.
What's the difference between when Minister of Justice Duran did it at the time, and he gave partial of the funds that was owed to the police officers? It was from the UTS buyback, I remember, and it was done without any calculations or anything like that. Because the minister also mentioned, Minister Richardson said that that was done haphazardly, and that also has to be taken into account as far as deduction is concerned, because 50% was given, and therefore the calculations need to be also it need to make sense.
Okay. I'm so happy that Minister Duran is from the National Alliance, and Minister Richardson today that heads the ministry is also from National Alliance.
Yeah.
So where is the sluitel overdracht? I do not know how to say it in English.
Transition.
Where is
With
the transition? The continuation
Yeah.
of service. Even if it's from another political party that held that position before, it's continuity.
Yeah.
And what I'm seeing in this country, every minister wants to say, I did
Did it.
this and I did that.
Yeah.
So we are basically reinventing the wheel moreover. And do you know who you're hurting? The people.
Yeah.
The people tomorrow that you expect to vote for you
Yeah.
Or protect you.
or protect you. And that's what I'm saying. And this is a very dangerous something, because I have to deal with it every single day. I have to deal with officers calling me from the prison, from the police, from customs, not only police,
Immigration.
from Coast Guard, everybody who is frustrated because they are disgruntled with their expositie, because you're telling them, listen, you're in this position, you're gonna get paid $2, but when they get there, they're being paid $1, and not even the waarnemings toelage, the acting allowance that they are getting, the compensation that they're getting.
Yeah. Yeah.
For example, you have a police force and you have a big gap. And when I say a big gap between when I entered the police force 16 years ago, we had something called the Commissariatsraad. So you had the chief commissioner of police, you had the commissioner of immigration, the commissioner of judicial affairs. You had about maybe 5 commissioners.
Yeah.
Today you only have the chief of police, no commissioners. Then bam, you have, so from a scale 17 position, the biggest gap, the last scale is 12. But yet there are other senior officers acting in the positions as commissioners and gets no compensation for it for nearly 5, 6, 7, 8 years. This is going to bring big problem within the it has already brought big problems within the organization.
Yeah.
So when we talk about management team, do we really have a management team?
Yeah, because they're not paid so.
They're not paid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Ms. Brooks, same thing. So they found the money during Minister Duran's tenure, just before elections. Now, elections is coming again, but the minister want to do it the right way. And she also mentioned that if you have any proof, if you have emails, if you have any documents, send them in so that could help.
A long drawn out exercise.
Yes.
We are good for that, say, Martin. The bureaucracy in this country, 14 years I'm back here and practicing, and I ask myself, like, really, I'm a practical thinker. Think outside the box. Get it done, and then figure out the nitty-gritties after. I mean, if you advance somebody 50%, right?
Yeah.
And it was done haphazardly, right? We have a record that you got 50% of
No
your
matter what.
advance.
Yeah.
No matter what. So guess what? We owe you the next 50%, and we did the calculation. And guess what? They know it good. If you overpay me, what are you gonna do? What has government
done before?
Take it back.
They don't have to ask, they take it back.
They take
so
it back.
Guess what? Come on. I mean, we can go back in circles, and as Lois Linden said, there's too many gaps between the functions. Alone, he's only looking at police,
Yeah.
for instance. But yet they are doing it. I've seen police officers died and got promoted. Andrew, police officers have died in St. Martin and gotten promoted. I've seen that. And then you ask yourself, like, is it worth it? I honestly, if this was not my passion, my dream job, there's no way I would have wanted to sit within that function. And you understand why a lot of the justice workers are seeking avenues to escape.
Yeah.
When you talk to them, and it's not only police officers, as he said, it's immigration, it's got everybody within the justice chain.
All right. You're watching The Great Debate. Let's take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we continue with the URSM, represented by Ms. Brenda Brooks, and, of course, Lyndon Lewis of the United People's Party. Stay with us.
No, but MP Bryson, look, MP Bryson, this is exactly why I have confidence in you. You're a very intelligent young man. I know that from day one when I met you, which you know how that goes.
Yep.
And this is the level of discussion you need in Parliament,
That's right.
in those committees. I hope the audience and the people are listening. This is the
Parliament
level.
right here would love nothing better than to say, let's allocate 10 million guilders towards helping our issues in social needs and so on. But how are we to do that when we have all of these conditions of, well, you can't get more liquidity, you need to cut, you need to do this. Many of us feel like we're in a position where we can't fully extend our ability to legislate.
But my decision is to stay where I'm at. At the end of the day, the way that MP Rolando Bryson leads, he allows me to work. He gives me that freedom to work. It's not always a phone call of pressure or do this, do that, don't do this, and that's part of the reason that I'm able to produce.
Any of the difficulties that this government faces today, I didn't sit down, do nothing, and have my staff write press releases. No, I got up and asked myself from opposition benches, what can I do? So I read my constitution, the one I swore to uphold, which gives us the rights to bring laws, to bring amendments, interpellation rights, inquiry rights. So we asked ourselves the questions at the time, what have we done? Regardless of...
He has represented this country qua what is expected of a parliamentarian professionally, and I can align myself with that.
Simply gone through a very difficult economic time and are simply asking of the tax department an opportunity to have a payment plan. And it seems that this is really done kind of like if they feel like how you talk to them, it's extreme.
Some of them even say it's the guns on Monaco, so they won't let me play, and they blaming polio. Who they think they could fool All we know they better do fast. Polio or no polio, man we won, we must. Mama, when they hear, they go get the carnival. Oh, oh, all masqueraders on heat. Well, they didn't care if it was official, but they start turning peace on the street. And they start to jump around, and they start to tumble down, and they fall down on the ground. If you see how they came. But what was so comical in the midst of Bacchanal? Rain comes and wash out Marcin Bay. Who they think they could fool? All we know they better do fast. Polio or no polio, man we won, we must. Mama, when they hear, they go get the carnival. Oh, oh, all masquerade.
Qu'est-ce que tu fais là? Qu'est-ce que tu fais là? But sorry, no sir. They got this game tonight and I can't miss it. Me and my boy, we gotta watch the game, you know. So I bringing this in. You check? Alright, let me watch your leg, bro. Watch your leg.
Sir, sorry. Why so difficult? Look, I'm watching TV here on my phone with the Tel TV Plus app. You really gotta upgrade.
Okay, so miss, tell me about the Tel TV Plus. I hear about this.
Okay, so once you apply for Tel TV Plus,
Okay.
you can enjoy it anytime on the go.
Anytime.
Anytime.
On the go?
On the go. You simply download the app, log into your account at any time, sit back and enjoy. You will never have to miss your match.
Yo, bus driver, take me back to tell him now, please.
Tell them to never ever worry. Don't mind how things looking hard. I said to tell them never ever worry. Don't mind how you're suffering bad. Never ever worry. What I'm saying is true.
And we are back with the great debate right here on the Late Night Show. Of course, we continue our very interesting discussion on the Justice Ministry. We were just talking about, some of the recent statements by the Minister of Justice. I mean, at the end of the day, it still comes down to the political holder, the political office holder, the Minister of Justice. And she has been there. Quite a number of protests by the Justice Ministry took place recently, even before, and now there seems to be one pending. How can we fix it, guys? Let's talk solutions, because we're not only here to talk about the issues. We know we have issues, but we need to try to see where we can come with solutions. Maybe the minister needs some help. Let's start with Mr. Lewis. Where do we begin?
We begin basically by policy. We have a policy, we have an organizational structure. In Dutch, you call it organisatiebesluit. In that besluit, it basically explains you the hierarchy of how the justice of every ministry is set up. So you have the minister. So we're talking about justice. You have the cabinet. You also have the staff bureau, this has the Secretary General of Justice. Now, I am seeing minister is having direct conversations with department heads. Okay? I call that, or we should know, it's called micromanaging. The Secretary General, what is the Secretary General there for? They are the ones, that person, that has to micromanage all departments. The minister is going to deal with external matters for the country. Okay? The Secretary General, what he or she does is they give the information on the operational basis to the minister. So to me now, you
But if
have
the Secretary General is not doing what it is supposed to do, then the minister is taking
yes, but then
a quick approach to fix
Then
it
you have
herself.
to ensure that the Secretary
General
is doing
their
qualified to do the
job.
Okay.
Okay, it's doing their job because you have a lot on your plate already.
Okay.
Yes, a minister is just the signature. That's a minister and has to rely on their team. You're nothing
advisors.
good
Without your
without your team.
Totally agree.
So you have to delegate, and it's written, it is structured. Where do I see the authority right now of the Secretary General of Justice? Do we really hear about a Secretary General of Justice?
Who is it?
Do we have one?
We do have one, which is Miss Licia Stella, who's acting and who's a department head at MOT.
Yeah.
So we keep making heads, acting heads, also acting Secretary General of Justice, who also will have to make decisions on all other departments. Which one would you favoritize the most?
The one she's in charge of.
The one that you're in charge of. So to me, I don't see the neutrality in it. I see basically a conflict of interest in that, and I don't see that functioning. I don't see it functioning at all because minister contacts directly most of the time with department heads.
Yeah.
The boss that is there for the department heads is the Secretary General of Justice. Okay? How you're going to deal with it, you just have to enforce it. The minister has to say, listen, Secretary General, what is going on by the police? What is going on at the prison? What is going on there? That department or that institution has to relay that information to the minister according to policy. In reality today, it is not so. So of course the minister will be overwhelmed, but then you should have some type of management skills as well. You have to take initiative and read the organizational structure for yourself, not rely on third parties to do so. It is very important that the institution that you're going to represent, you cannot go in blindly. From the time you know you have to go through screening for that ministry,
Start to do your homework.
start to do your homework, get to the books. That is one of the solutions. Any minister taking up a portfolio should start to do their own research. I'm sorry that we have many of them who are not, again, it's another Dutch word, machtig, in the Nederlandse taal. Strong in it. But again, I personally can say when I entered the government apparatus as a trainee immigration officer, I too couldn't speak the Dutch language. But I had to take it up upon myself, my own initiative, and pay Oline Bryson, for example, for extra classes at her home to learn the Dutch language. That today that I can be able to put pen to paper in the language.
And defend yourself.
And to defend yourself.
Yeah.
So it is important that you educate your own self in order to serve the country on an optimal level. It is very important. It doesn't matter what background you have. So you don't need to have a justice background to know justice. You just need to take the time out and do your due diligence, study the organization, know who your stakeholders are, and manage.
Okay. Ms. Brooks.
Well, I mean, it's very difficult to add more to what the man himself who has been in the organization, 16 years?
16 years. Yeah.
Again, and it goes back to what we said in the beginning, the people in position. Understand? The policies are there. Everything, the organizational structure did not just disappear.
Yeah.
It has been there, and all you have to do is implement. You understand? And this is what we have a problem with in St. Martin. Everybody go into the ministries and they say, you know what, I'm going to undo what this one did, and I'm going to disregard, and then you end up with a justice ministry, for instance, that is having to micromanage because you don't have no steady Secretary General who can do the operational task. And as he said, indeed, there's a lot of micromanagement happening. Yeah. And it's a big ministry. So I wouldn't want to go in as a minister of justice and say, boy, you know what, I'm going to be talking to department heads and so, because I still have to think about my other stakeholders. I have to represent St. Martin abroad. I have to,
and also engage. better the ministry, because at the end of the day, besides managing, you also have to
improve the improvement. And I think that there's no room for those discussions if you can't simply
outing fires all day.
If you're out in fires all day,
Yeah.
you can't say, okay, yes, I'm gonna run my ministry properly. And I must give Jack his jacket though. I've seen improvements dealing with, for instance, immigration cases, and of course they have challenges with the uploading of documents and so. But over the years, I've seen improvements with that process. I've also seen the certificate of good conduct going online. That is also a great improvement. But I think a lot of times we focus on the small things and we lose sight of the bigger picture because, again, the bigger picture is where you're going to make the money, not by 50 guilder certificate of good conduct, so...
Is the unions doing enough? Because some would say that the unions have taken too much of a step back, as much as they are applying pressure, but maybe it's a different approach to how unions were beforehand, where they were pretty aggressive when it comes to fighting for their members. Of course, I know the whole different unions. Some are in Curacao, some are represented from here, so it's split. I know that there's different dynamics, different unions, different styles of unionism. But can the unions do more, Mr. Lewis?
Andrew, yes, the unions can do more.
Okay.
But do you know what the problem is? Because you're talking to someone who was vice president of ABVO Union, who later on was also an advisor to the union. The problem is the individual that is representing the organization is employed at the organization. The minister, again, and what I see is basically when you're hearing, for example, Mauricia is the head of the NRPB, and then you're hearing he is now being victimized, allegedly, by the Minister of Justice.
Yeah.
And if that is so, the Minister of Justice, even if I become Minister of Justice one day and an employee is representing the members in the union, we have to understand that you have different hats and different roles. When Mr. Mauricia sits with a minister, in Dutch you call them a gesprekspartner. He is no longer at that moment your employee. You both on the same level having a conversation on how you're going to resolve the issues within your ministry. So I don't think you need to look that Andrew Dick is heading a union representing the police, and you have no choice but to deal with Andrew Dick. But now because Mauricia is an employee of the Justice Ministry, he's going to be penalized? No, we have to know our rules. And it wasn't like that because I'm aggressive. Who knows me? I'm aggressive. I have sat with nearly every Minister of Justice. No, I've sat with all. And the only minister right now I can tell you I have the utmost respect for, except Doran, I didn't sit with him, is Minister Duncan. And do you know why I have that respect for him? Because when he is a lawyer, he knows his job. He sits in the Justice Ministry. And I receive a letter telling me, listen, we are not going to award you your promotion that you're requesting. It has no legal merit. I did my due diligence. I come with my counter complaint without even having to do the bourgeois. And he saw it. He was like, listen, this come from your ministry. No, I didn't turn this down. I was eating probably, and I ended up signing it. After he took a proper look at the document, it was retracted.
So that's how it's supposed to be.
That is how it's supposed to be. It was retracted. I got a new national decree telling you that the decision to cancel my promotion is basically retracted, and we are going to award it. This is the conversation union representatives need to have with ministers, and ministers has to have the neutrality and the objectivity within themselves to make proper decisions on the part of the people, on the side of the people, because at the end of the day, who are you there to serve? You are there to serve the people.
And the minister said that the union is misleading its members, and that's a very strong statement to make against a union representative or a union itself, because they are literally the representative of the people that work for you.
Andrew, for example, we previously mentioned about the article that was published where the minister's requesting the employees to gather documentations proving the positions that they hold.
That they hold, yeah.
Now that is, to me, I do not know who made that article, but on the part of the minister, that's very embarrassing.
Yeah.
Because it tells me what is wrong with your HR, what is wrong with your personnel department. Any employee that needs, for example, a job letter, that needs something, that personnel is supposed to have those things in their files.
Yeah.
If you're placing someone in a position, they're supposed to get something called an Ann Beatings brief. If they go in an offer letter, stating that we're outlining, and this is, listen, again, we have a Rex Positi that exists, from the Netherlands Antilles, that you have to use until the new one goes into life.
Okay.
And it states clearly in Article 12 of, for example, the Rex Positi, or even in the LMR, that when someone goes into a new function, within a month time, they're supposed to have the information regarding their function.
Yeah.
These things are written.
Yeah. But
no, we're just taking people, boop, you put them in a position.
And call them interim.
An interim.
Yeah.
Interim.
And without any payment.
They will
Again, we do have policies. Yes, they're outdated, but they're applicable.
Yeah. Until you have a new one.
You have a new one. So don't do, because how can you say, oh, it is, the function book is not, the institution is not there. For example, Landsrecherche. The National Detective Agency was part of the Netherlands Antilles. Okay? Not country St. Martin. But we have a Landsrecherche National Detective Agency in St. Martin today.
Yeah.
So how today, when you're putting people in functions, you could tell them you can't pay them because of the function book. You can't give them what is there because the function book is not ready.
Yeah.
So you doing what you want, you're going to give the same position, you're going to give somebody a scale 8, the same position, give somebody a scale 10 or scale 9. What type of structure do we have?
Yeah. Based on what?
It is chaos. It is chaotic right now. It is favoritism. There's nepotism within this ministry. And that's the reason why it cannot function properly.
Ms. Brooks.
No.
It's hard to follow after that, right?
Right. Again, look, union.
Yeah.
Every union has their approach. And every constellation of a union may be different. In the past, they have been very radical.
Very radical, yes.
If I may say so. You have a union now, indeed. I think that there's a lot, people don't understand our roles, and sometimes we have to carry different hats. You need to understand that when the president of the union is working as police officer, he carries his hat. But when he has to engage as president of the union, he engages with the minister.
Yeah.
And it's not that hat that he's your subordinate.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
He has to represent his group. And oftentimes we see in St. Martin, and again, maybe not only this ministry, and on a whole, you have personal vendettas. I always tell politicians, listen, if you want to enter into the political arena, broaden up your shoulders. You need a broad back.
Yeah.
And it's nothing personal. When we do cases against any of the ministries, we are representing the best interests of the clients. I took an oath. I swear to represent to the best interest of my client. And when you attack them, they oh God, it becomes a bit personal.
Yeah.
Like, here goes Brenda.
Here goes Brenda.
And I'm like, and if imagine me being on the outside as an attorney, oftentimes get that feeling that everything becomes personal. You wonder what the workers within the ministry, how they feel when they are part of a union and they are fighting for the interests for the the group on a whole.
And
So
sometimes you get targeted or penalized.
yeah. You get targeted, you get gag orders.
Oh, that
I've
too.
seen some gag orders circulating, and then you're like, oh God, like.
Cease and desist.
But
Yeah.
not everybody, not everybody is a Lyndon Lewis, for instance, who's
Yeah.
gonna go court adamantly and fight.
Yeah, some people would just take
they
it
say,
and step back.
because indeed there's a saying, not every battles you have to fight, although it took me years to realize that.
Yes.
Some people understand it at an early stage and they say, okay, let me just... So those dynamics within the relationship can cause that the perception of the population is that, hey, the union is not tough enough, or they're not going out and striking and doing stuff, but it's very difficult. It's very difficult because when you have he's a gesprekspartner, you are a gesprekspartner, it's hard to engage in a discussion if you're on this level and you feel that I'm on this level, and no matter what we try to tell you,
understand.
you're speaking different language. It's hard. You have to come down to each other's level and engage and say, you know what? How may I help you? How we can come to a solution to solve this ongoing 13-year plus issue that we have with the workers? It's all the demeanor.
Yeah, you wanted to add.
Yes, because we were talking about solutions.
Yeah.
And I just mentioned that we have, for example, policies that's there that just needs to be used. And, for example, the current situation where Attorney Cormex had a conference.
Yeah.
And it is not the unions. After I did a study, it's the employees he's representing. He's not representing the union. It's the employees he's representing. And he mentioned, because I'm a politician, like I said, I have to take note as to what is going on within my country. And he said, but she wants a meeting.
Yeah,
he wants you to answer the letter.
Yeah.
Do you know that government, the Prime Minister, the Minister of General Affairs, there's a policy put in place.
Yes.
And I will quote the article in Article 14 of I think it's a Landsbesluit Bezwaar Ambtenaren. It says clearly, you made that law for the people to petition you.
Yeah.
So you will petition, and you have a time frame in order to answer.
But they don't
You don't respond. So again, the solution is, if you're the minister, yes, everything goes to your cabinet. Again, your cabinet has a delegating function. So it has to go to the respective departments. You should have a committee put in place that are going to answer every single letter that comes in.
Yeah.
Because everyone that writes a letter has the rights to write a letter according to that article.
Because oftentimes you hear that somebody sends in a letter and 2, 3 months, 4 months,
4
5
months is not
down the
passed.
line, sometimes a year.
And within 4 months, government give it 4 months. If me, Minister of Justice, does not answer you, you have the right to take it to court.
Yeah.
Provided that it's a bezwaar.
A bezwaar.
Yeah.
So now
A
you
request.
request.
As well.
So you taking that matter to court, and now you're getting offended.
Yeah.
You're taking it personal. But you provide. I have to say you, because you're part of the executive branch, and this law is applicable to you.
Yeah.
You have to answer the people's letter.
It's in the law. And many of the cases, by the way, the majority of the cases for justice, at least from my office, is fictitious. Refusal. Fictitious refusal. The law says if you refuse to make a decision based on my request, my petition, then it's considered that you refused. So.
Let's talk a little bit about the situation at the prison, for example. Recently the Prisons Inmates Association took the government to court after almost a month of striking that happened in the prison. Of course, the attorney and the government attorney end up coming to some type of agreement afterwards. However, the understaffing is still a situation at the prison and many other departments in justice. This situation in justice does not encourage many persons to join the justice ministry. So do you see a problem down the road, Ms. Brooks?
Definitely. The problem is already here, so it doesn't even need to be down the road.
Okay.
The prison has been an issue even prior to 10-10-10. You had Russell Ricardo was back then the director, we know that the facility is outdated. It requires an updated or a renewed
building.
You cannot, again, we're going to state it for the record, you cannot expect to treat your staff bad and every morning they get up and smile and they say, hooray, I'm going nicely to work today. Yeah. So what is the effect of this whole function book exposition problem? Is that they're thinking to themselves, but why am I doing this? Why am I putting my life online? Going to the prison every day for what? The facility is not good. There are reports, Andrew. The law enforcement publicize several reports. The committees for torture come. They do now random visits to ensure that they comply with
human rights issues,
international human rights standards in St. Martin. So at a given moment, we cannot continue crying and saying we don't have the funds to upgrade the facility, to ensure staffing at the facility because there are minimum requirements. The staff realize going to their own job is actually a liability for them.
Yeah.
So what you want them to do, you think they call in sick?
Yeah.
And that's what it goes back to the front end of our discussion. What is happening? Your workers are not being well taken care of. And now if you had found a way to take care of them, then they would go,
they would go the extra mile. Because they actually like what they do. They love what they do.
Andrew, again, you're talking to somebody that sits with employees that have to hug them, that have to cry with them, that have to deal with them. I would like to know if our current Minister of Justice have ever seen a pay slip from a prison guard. They have, I'm telling you, and I'm talking about a prison guard that's working over 10 years, sometimes goes home with 1,000-something guilders a month. 2,000-something guilders a month. Attorney Brooks just said, you have to take care of your employees. What is the prison? The prison is supposed to be a rehabilitation center for criminals convicted, for ex-cons, tomorrow when they come out, that they can be reinstated
in the society.
This is a 16 square mile island. Yeah. Okay? Yeah. 16 square mile. I think we have probably 80 or 80 something inmates. How can't we get a facility in place for 80 inmates?
Let's say 90.
Or let's say 90. So what are we busy with?
Yeah.
No, all jokes aside.
And it's 3 guards or 3 or 4 guards.
I always tell people who speak to me or consult with me, I said there's 2 types of thieves. 2 types of thieves. There's a thief that just steals willfully, and there's a thief that steals to survive. And this is what you are bringing within the Justice Ministry right now. You are allowing police officers, prison officers, coast guards, or whomever to be vulnerable. When vulnerability kicks in, when survival modes kick in, and they can't pay their rent, guess what? A shipment coming in on the harbor, they know something, they want a cut of something. Yeah. The prison know that these prisoners getting a little change, whatever, you want this in? Yeah. They need, some of them are doing it because they need to eat, they need to take care of their family.
And there's many cases of that.
I am not stating that it is right what they're doing, but the vulnerability, we have to have some type of empathy.
We create the environment.
Yes.
All right, last and final words. Believe it or not, time is already up, guys. This was a very interesting discussion. Hope we had more time because I wanted to go into Coast Guards also and immigration, especially.
They need another session.
So we need another session.
You need one session alone for immigration.
Because I came prepared for all.
I know, because especially on immigration, right? Don't worry, we'll be back for sure. You just let us know, and hopefully the other parties.
If I may speak for my family here, we'll be back.
Yes, hopefully, then the other parties will show up also. Then they can defend themselves because they have the ones that are in government now, the National Alliance, for example. So at least then they could come with their side of things. But final words, Ms. Brooks.
Well, Andrew, thank you for inviting me. It's a discussion that has no end, as I told you,
Yeah, it
and
has no
I
end,
think
yeah.
we did a good job within the short span of time to try touch some key topics. But I am willing to be back for the immigration discussion
yeah.
because
I'll make a show on it only.
you know,
yeah.
my office has the most of the immigration cases.
Yeah.
On St. Martin, and indeed, I am the president of the URSM, and my goal is simply to set up and get them running, and to get some good candidates to try bring about the change. Because I said in my my speech at the launch back in 10/10/21 that we have to go down a different road, you know, and going down a different road doesn't only mean that you're gonna try a different angle, but it starts from the candidates. We want to at least get good qualified persons to postulate and to encourage them to run for office, but also to sit on the legislative body, because most times you see people run and they say, we campaign, we want to go in parliament, and then as soon as the votes come in, they say, boy, I got 600 votes, I want the ministry. I won't call the name of the ministry because then it sounds a bit personal, but you get your votes and then you start, and then if you don't support, we're going to drop. We want to try to encourage the people. The power is in parliament. Go to parliament, sit and legislate. There are so many laws, and as Lyndon said, and there are so many things that are already there that transition from the Netherlands Antilles.
That we can
what
fix.
we can do is we can continue using and amend where necessary. We don't have to reinvent the wheel, and that's St. Martin problem has always been that we feel that I have to come with something brand new. No, you have Curacao, you have the Netherlands, you have Aruba. Copy paste if what works well for you, you know, tailor make it to fit your needs, and then move on. Stop going in and saying, oh God, we want to go in parliament, then you get elected. No, we want to become executive. To me, I would want to sit in parliament because I can send home that minister any day.
Exactly.
But the concept of our political system it's a bit changing. But while we have Lyndon here, I would like to also wish him, I know Lyndon personally, not only as family, but also I've seen him perform at the court. And I know his struggles that he has been having with the Justice Ministry. And I think that he has come a long way from his maybe years that you know him in school.
Yes,
He
a very long way.
has educated himself well, and I think that he will be a force to be reckoned with for the next election, and knowledgeable in his area as well. And in fact, you could put him in any ministry and he can...
he's in tourism now, so yes.
He does his homework, so...
Thank you, Ms. Brooks. Lyndon, quickly.
Andrew, I would like to thank you for the opportunity for being here, for defending justice today. And like I told other people the other day, I am an all-rounder. Okay, now don't only see me as the man for justice, but a man that also works in VSR, a man that also works in the Ministry of TIAT, and a man that is studying the entire government apparatus. When you choose to run for election, you have to ask your politician, what have you done sometime in your life for someone before joining politics? Not that if you get elected, what you're planning to do. You have to be a people's person. You have to be oriented with what's going on within the country. So don't go in there just because you want power. Go in there because you want to make your country proud. And that is what I want to do for this country. This is going to be my 4th time running, and I am going to make that difference and make St. Martin proud. And thank you for the compliments and the encouragement, Ms. Brooks.
All right. That's our Sunday for the Great Debate. Thank you so much for tuning in. Next week, we promise to have another interesting program. Until next time, have a good one.
I'm still in shock, I can't understand.